From the Oklahoman newsroom, this is an OU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Abby Bitterman, OU beat writer. Abby, our good buddy Barry Trammell wrote on Saturday how offenses in the Big 12, terrible, can't score. Then OU comes out and is in the 80s, nearly gets to 90 in their Bedlam win over Oklahoma State. Lots of offense, and you like to see guys being able to get the ball through the hoop, and Brady Manek led the charge again. He's really seeming to really find a comfort zone. What stood out to you about what Brady Manek is doing offensively?
Yeah, I mean, just the way he played in the first half, OU kept finding him at anywhere around the three-point arc, and he was just putting it through the hoop. So that was pretty impressive to see. But he didn't just get it done on behind the three-point line. He was scoring all over the place, grabbing rebounds too, just really doing kind of everything for OU in that first half. And then, you know, in the second half, he cooled down a bit, wasn't making threes at the rate he was in the first half. But then that kind of frees up the offense for other guys, and I think allowed them to get going too. Guys like Austin Reeves, who really had needed a game like that, you would think, just because he had such a hot start to the season and has kind of cooled down recently. So, you know, when you have a guy like Brady Manek who can score so many points, he had 30 in the game, just shy of his career high of 31. That kind of then opens up the offense for other guys, which is also important.
You know, the 30 points is impressive, obviously. You don't see that a ton in college hoops. But 11 of 18, he only needed 18 shots to get those 30 points, which that level of, shooting when you don't have a ton of shots, and he didn't go to the free throw line much, only 2 free throws. It just seems like his efficiency is really high. Are you sensing that it's where he's shooting from, just that he's comfortable no matter where he's shooting from? Where does that level of efficiency come from?
I think it comes from just he was the one with the hot hand, and his teammates were just able to find him, and he gave them a lot of credit for that, because really from the corner, from the top, he was shooting from everywhere. And in the first half especially, it felt like he couldn't miss. He put up a 3, and everyone in the Lloyd Noble Center knew it was going to go in, and it almost always did. So I think it's just a matter of, you know, when a guy is hot, you got to find him, and that's what they did. And he was the one with the hot hand in the first half, and so that's what OU did.
You mentioned Austin Reeves earlier. He scores 21, 6 of 12, but you know, he's not great three-point shooting for him, 2 for 7, but he got to the free throw line. Is this I mean, obviously it looks like Brady Manek's going to be option 1 for the Sooners offense. Christian Doolittle didn't have a great game in Bedlam, and is Austin Reeves the type of guy that can fill the void if Doolittle's maybe not scoring 12, 15, 18 points?
I think so, and he also seems to be, because he's done this before in the Christian Doolittle had a great first half in against Kansas State the first time, and then Austin Reeves kind of came in and filled that void in the second half again. So that's a role that he's been in before, and I think that he does well in, where his teammates get hot, defenses start focusing on them, and then that kind of frees him up. And we saw something different from him on Saturday, some really crowd electrifying dunks, and he was really fired up and had a lot of energy, and I think that helped too, with just the game that he was able to have.
You don't really expect him to be your dunk master necessarily. Those two guys, great offensive games. And when you look at the schedule this week, a game at Texas Tech on Tuesday, West Virginia coming in on Saturday, both of those teams very defensive-minded squads. It seems like the Sooners maybe won't get into the 80s, approaching 90 with these two games coming up, but offensively, they have to feel like they're in a good spot to play these two teams, I would think. Yeah,
I would definitely think so. And I mean, you look back at the game they were able to have against Baylor. You know, they can hang with tougher teams, but something that Lon Kruger has talked about all season, and something that I think they need to be a little bit worried about, is they have a tendency to be streaky on offense, and sometimes they can have these 82-point scoring games, and sometimes they struggle to break 50. And so I think that when you're playing very defensive-minded teams like Texas Tech and West Virginia, you know, you really have to be focused on shot selection, and something they do really well when their offense is on is moving the ball, and they move the ball great against Oklahoma State, and so I think that that's something they need to focus on because they get better shots that way.
Definitely. All right, 8 o'clock on Tuesday in Lubbock, and then back in Norman on Saturday. That's a 1 o'clock tip against West Virginia. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at Oklahoman.com and every day in the Oklahoman.